What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Victory Life Legacy Spotlight. I'm your host, owner, and founder, Dwight Vick, and I'm here with a guy that's always on my show, a guy that I talk to probably 5 to 6 times a week. Head basketball coach for Patriot Hoops, Sherman Rivers. Term, how you doing, my guy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just chilling, sitting in the house.
Yeah, it's weird, man, because I say this every year around this time. I know we have, as we're recording this, the banquet coming up to highlight the seniors and the underclassmen and look towards the future. But it feels weird because, for me especially, I've been part of the program for 4 years. My wife, our whole family. So Patriot basketball has been part of our DNA, the same way now Virginia Tech is. So now I got Patriot basketball, really Patriot high school, because I do work outside of being a father. So it's weird. So I've been texting you, say, yo, when y'all getting started, are y'all gonna do again Capital Hoop Summer League again?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we gotta see what these young boys with, so we ain't gonna run from it. I told them when our first meetings, I said, I feel like it would be disrespectful for y'all to start doing things different. So, and you guys been chomping at the bit anyway. So we about to see if you really what you say you are.
You have a lot of people. I had a guy, I'm not even gonna say his name because he's a good friend of mine. He was over here doing some work on my house, and he's got sons of the athletes. He's not a Patriot hater by no means, but he was like, "Yeah, man, I feel like Patriot, they're gonna be nice next year, but I think they're gonna fall off, man. They're losing too much." And I didn't even say it, and I was like, "I don't think so." But then again, they've been saying it about Patriot every year. When you hear stuff like that, because you hear what people whisper in group chats, you hear about the secret conversations behind your back. What do you think about that when you hear people say they're gonna fall off, they're losing Desmond, Makai Dillard, Isaiah Vick, Tay Barber, Abe. I mean, when you hear that, and Ryan Keenan and Trey Penix, um, what do you say? I know you don't try to address everything, but what do you say?
I mean, listen, that's a lot. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like those guys aren't very special players, but we were talking, before we started, and we had some guys that were in the gym shooting today that have gone on and then moved on to the next levels and that are college basketball players, and I remember a lot of people saying like, "What are you going to do when you lose those guys?" So
Hmm.
it's one of those things. Listen, man, graduation happens. Like they don't get to stay forever. Some of them play a little bit longer than others. Like your son clearly was a freshman playing all the way through a senior, so I'm sure there's a lot of people like, finally, this kid is graduating. You know, but it's we got kids that we get ready to fill into those positions. It might look different. It might be somewhat of a different type of feel, but we always try to make sure that we're preparing the young guys to be ready to take over when it's their turn. And so I think we have a group of young kids that wanted to take over before they were necessarily ready for it. But now, here we are, and it's now we have no choice whether we want when we want to do it or not. And I think they'll be ready to step up to the task for sure.
Yeah, no, I think you guys do a great job of preparing players, and you also do something I think is critical that football and basketball coaches on all levels do, especially high school and college, is that you simultaneously live in the moment, but you also prepare for the future. So
Absolutely.
a kid like Kyle Wilcox is now stepping up and expected even more, but it won't be new or foreign to him because he's kind of been playing since day one. A guy
Right.
like OG Carter, came on midseason, took over the starting point guard job. He's been playing, he's been around the program a lot. You got some guys coming in from JV. And the thing about Patriot basketball is there's a level of expectation. You won't sneak up on anybody anymore.
No.
Every year, Inside Nova, Nova Hoops, and all the different publications, the guys like Matt Hatfield, now myself, we talk about contenders. And even though you're losing a lot, you will be mentioned. Do the guys now, I know it's early because we're only in April as we record this episode. It's a long time, but it comes up fast between summer league and fall league and the actual season. Do those guys that are coming behind Isaiah and Tay, and even the guys that came behind Nasir and all them, do they know these young guys you have now understand the Patriot way, the expectation?
Yes, I think it takes some of them a little bit, some longer than others. to understand that. But we've been blessed with a lot of very good, not only just good players, but good mentors as far as letting these young guys know what is expected of them and what the work that comes with it. And another thing is you talk about expectations. The pressure really comes to them because they feel like they don't want to drop the baton. You can speak to it. I'm sure your son got phone calls from some of those guys that graduated when we weren't playing so well in the summertime. So it's like, hey, what you doing, man, is a certain level of excellence we used to, and if you don't do that, you're gonna have to deal with us. So it's not a whole lot I gotta say. So that's why I like what we've been able to build as far as like guys being ready for that, but more so they're learning the right way to do it. Some guys get to play a little bit earlier than others. You brought up Kyle Wilcox, and he's got some opportunities earlier on, but he's had his bumps along the road as well. And now you're looking at him our first few workouts, I'm like, man, he looks like a veteran guy. Like he's just doing all the stuff that we were hoping that he would be able to do. And sometimes, we try to rush kids when they're not ready for stuff, and that's why people get impatient and that's why they change teams or they transfer schools or things of that nature. If you can get some guys who can understand, listen, you're going to get what you want on the back end, but you're going to learn how to do it the right way so you're successful when you get out of here. Not
Yeah,
so much let's get it all right now.
no doubt. I mean, yeah, it's crazy how time flies and the expectation. You're right about those moments of accountability because when they struggled in the summer league and then even that loss to Woodside and to Hampton, I don't get involved in my son's business when it comes to basketball, but we're close. We're a close-knit family, my wife and I, and we talk. And he was like, yo, man, Courtney hit me up and Trey Nelson, and they were all talking. Jay Randall hit him up. I love that because it seems like, and again, I want your feedback on this. It seems like you and Teron and Devon and everyone have established a program at Patriot in a short amount of time where you look around the landscape of Prince William and Fairfax County in Northern Virginia with the movement across the region and then throughout the state, it's tough to sustain that program that you see, that brotherhood that you see at programs in the 90s and early 2000s. Like, where it's like the expectation, if you watch the Miami Hurricane 30 for 30, Michael Irvin talked about, we called them guys after that loss to Washington and said, hey, man, what are you doing? And the
Mm-hmm.
guys at Miami was like, yeah, we can't let them down. It seems like that same culture exists at Patriot where everyone's like, yo, y'all, region, district, nah, man, we got to get to states at least, which is
Right.
insane because that does not happen. But do you feel like that's what y'all got to created, like that program? Is that what was that your goal?
Well, absolutely. My biggest thing is, I wanted to build something that the kids could be proud of. That when they
Mm-hmm.
went off and they had AAU practice or they're at an open gym, they want to wear their Patriot stuff and be like, that's where I play at. Where you from? You know what I'm saying? Like walk
Mm-hmm.
around that sort of area to them that, we're one of those top programs that you need to be talking about. So, and, with that comes, the pride of like how they played when they were there and how much pride they have in it after the fact. I love when the guys come back, especially during the season and they're around and when we make the playoff runs and I see the different ones that are there, just, I remember getting a FaceTime call from Jakai when at South Carolina, like, Coach, I'm coming through the state game, man. I'm going to be there. That's awesome. And, seeing Caden Bates up in the crowd, he's not even playing and he's starting to shed a tear because we lost the game.
I
Those
know.
type of things and things, you get wrapped up in the wins and losses. And obviously that's what we're trying to do. But the fact that we've been able to build a family culture within it, not just like as far as the players, but just our overall with our parents and everything else like that. Like I said, me and you, we talk like almost every other day. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And it don't even
yeah.
got to be about basketball. So,
Nah, nah, nah. You mentioned Jakai, and he's at South Carolina, and I saw him when you guys made it to the States in the quarterfinals. And we'll get to this later about the all-time list, but he was a special player, man. Good Lord. And speaking
yeah,
of special players, this year you had another special group. And there's always that debate, I'm sure, amongst the Patriot players, and even as myself and other parents, not a debate like we're arguing, but like, okay, which is the best team or how does this team shape up against this team? When you got your roster this past season and you knew You had Isaiah Tate transferred because our mutual friend Rocky Carter was no longer at Osborne. And for
Hmm.
the record, true or false, Tate Bar was your first ever transfer into Patriot, right?
He's the first ever transfer to come in there for basketball. Jakai
Okay.
transferred there, and he was a football guy. We just got lucky enough that he also played basketball.
Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah,
kept
but
saying that.
he came from Manassas Park.
Yeah, which is crazy because he makes me look a little short. That guy's an animal.
Yeah,
So when you talk about the team you had, you look at Abe, who, if he was anywhere else in the Cedar Run or even the Cardinal District, he would average 28 points a game easily. You had a collection of players that were probably one of your most offensively gifted groups with Desmond and Isaiah versus the previous year. We had some real dogs on defense led by Nasir, Caden, and Jay. So one thing I learned about you and your staff, you guys morph into whatever your personnel needs to be. So with that
hmm
being said, when you got that, you played one of the toughest, really to be on record, the toughest out of conference schedule in Patriot basketball history. Was
hmm
that on purpose? Or was that like, oh, well, this school reached out, this school reached out, or was that on purpose?
I mean, it's a combination. It's one of those things that the schedule. You go into every year thinking about how can we challenge ourselves so we can get past or get at least to where we were the last time. And with the game, being upset in the semifinal of a few years ago, I know the whole thing was going to be like, we got to get back to avenge that. And so, that was kind of like, that was when it kind of came about with the Capital Hoops Challenge and being on TV. And then, we'll travel here, we'll go play. We'll go to Richmond, we'll go play. Somebody from 757 want to play. Cool. We gonna play everybody from every part of the state, DC, Maryland, and that's kind of been my mindset with it is that, we're gonna play a schedule. Clearly over the years, if we gotten, more top tier, the schedule's gotten a little bit more difficult because now those teams that might have been hesitant to, accept the call, either they're accepting the call or they're calling you or saying, hey, we got to get a game in. And I'm like, hey, we can do it. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of those times it comes after you beat one of those teams where they want to get their getting back. So, and that can be in the summer, in the fall, or any other little showcase event you're in. So, it's just, we've been blessed to have a lot of good kids and a lot of talented kids. More important, a lot of kids that work hard and want to get better and prepare themselves the right way so we can be in those situations and have some success.
Yeah, you had a lot of success once again this year. It was interesting, man, because you said throughout, you said this to your players. I saw you on other podcasts. You even said it to me when we were chopping it up after a game or whatever. You would say, I have to keep reminding myself we're playing this schedule for preparation for our ultimate goal. Because you had a tough loss, your worst loss of the season against Carroll, a team that on a different day, that's a different ball game, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
Woodside, you played them on the road in a hostile environment. And that was y'all first game, but they had already been playing. You played
Mhm.
Hampton on the road. I wouldn't say hostile, but it was an intense environment. They ended up winning Division 4 state champion. I saw a post on Facebook where it was in the Prince William County group that Jay Golson runs, and it said Patriot played 3 state champions this year: South Lakes, Hampton High, and Woodside. And you also played other contenders. Um, do you think that schedule wears on a team, or it was a situation where they got stronger because of those games?
Well, the thing that we had to deal with this year with having such a veteran laden group that had been through the previous couple Final Four runs is that
Mhm.
the thing that I was most worried about, and as I started to shape the schedule and it started to become finalized, was you have to keep their interest throughout the season because they start focusing on the end and then they get bored with the monotony of what's just a season. So if you don't throw challenges in there, that's something that's going to make them feel like, all right, this is going to, get me going right here, or all right, we got to travel down here and do this. It's just, and that's not speaking anything negative against our area, our district, or our region. It just was one of those things that most of the games we played in our area, we won by double digits. A matter of fact, I think all of them in the region we did. So,
Yeah.
and in the district, it was about about an average of 20 to 25. So that wasn't going to get us ready for the ultimate goal of what we were trying to do. So having that game with Woodside early to kind of, all right, are you ready to go? And they saw they weren't. So that woke them up. Next time we play a game, we win by 40. So it's like, all right, we're not going to just cruise through this thing. We're going to actually have to be able to be locked in at all times. And, you have a couple games that are a little bit down as far as like maybe the competition, but then all of a sudden you come back, or you got South Lakes at home, who everybody's telling you is the number one team, and you guys have no chance. We were ready to play that night. Obviously shot the ball really well, and but the biggest thing is we defended very well for a long stretch of that game, made it difficult for them. Being up by as much as 24 different stretches. So that was a good game for us early in the season. We talked about traveling to Hampton and going down there again. One thing we know about going down there, we're not going to get any calls. So we got to get in situations where we understand that you're not going to get bailed out and you're going to have to go make tough plays. And that's something that, we really wanted to make sure. And those type of games are always low scoring, which are a lot of times is what the state games are.
Yeah,
So, you put yourself in those type of environments. You go play a WCAC team, just to see where you're at with that up in Maryland and PG County. You're not getting calls up there either. So, just anything that can make it more difficult on us to sharpen us. Like you said, steel sharp steel. You can't get sharper without going against other sharp competition. So it's one of those things, man, that you're trying to get to an ultimate goal, and you got to know how to push those buttons with certain teams and what to do.
exactly. And the one thing I'm gonna say on record, on recording this episode, is that I respect that. And the one thing I don't get about, and I've said this on my show, I've been on other platforms, I'll say this on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I will never get, and this is not just Patriot, this is a lot of teams throughout the state. When you have a good team or a great team, or you feel like you're going to be good, why are you not stepping out of Prince William or Fairfax County? Why are you only playing and staying comfortable? I respect the fact that you guys went to the 757, and even last year you linked up with LC Bird and other teams. I will never understand if you have a championship level team, it's great exposure for your players. And on top of it, you get a chance to really get a different brand of basketball, and you get to go against some other talented teams. The one thing I can say about, and we're going to talk about this with the players in a second, but the one thing I can say about my son Isaiah, when he played for you in the last, you count AAU and you count the last 3 years as a starter, he's going against some of the best players in the country in public school. He's
Right.
going against Cam Ward, Nate Ament, Jordan Scott, and other guys. And I mean, that's pretty remarkable. Where some guys are like, okay, I'm gonna stay in the district, man. And again, I know you're not doing that on purpose, but that is a goal for your guys to get that exposure. Your kids got a lot of exposure. You played on TV twice. When you talk about that, do you tell the players, you and your staff, what a great opportunity this is in regards to not just playing on TV, but going against some other dogs out there?
Well, we do. We talk about being, appreciative of the opportunities that have been given to us. I was talking with some of our older guys, that obviously got to see bits and pieces of it here and there, and some got to see more than others as we built it more and more. But I'm going to say it, and I think that us, and maybe you can maybe say Hayfield, not maybe you can say Hayfield, us, and we're kind of the closest thing you're going to get to a private school at the public school level in Virginia, as far as the different type of teams and venues and places that we play at. I really have a strong appreciation of Los, because he does exactly the things that you're saying. Like, why don't other coaches do? He will go anywhere. He will play anybody. It doesn't matter. Even when everybody thought that his team this year was going to be as strong, I kept telling people, I said, they're going to be right there at the end. I don't know why y'all keep saying that. I said it. I say you can talk all that what you want to talk right now. He's a really good coach, man, and he has kids that play hard and they are talented. They just have to, adjust to not having those big guns that they had. So, but like I said, it goes with the type of schedule that he plays. He traveled down to 757 to go play games. He went and played John Marshall a couple years ago in Richmond. So
In
it's
Richmond.
right, and won the game. So he goes up and plays, against I'm about to say Woodrow Wilson, but against I forgot the name now. My brain messing with me. Um,
It was that private school in Maryland.
no, the
Oh,
DC joint that we
oh, okay,
scrimmaged.
okay. Oh, Sidwell,
No,
Jackson Reed,
yeah, Jackson Reed.
Jackson
You know
Reed.
what I'm saying? So Jackson Reed, you got them who they went up and played them in the year that they only lost one game. That's the one game they lost. We're
Yeah,
talking about the team that won the DC championship.
yeah.
So those are the type of things, man, that like when you can do that type of stuff and the kids, they get that exposure. They get to be seen by different types of people, different types of coaches, and different types of avenues. So if they take care of business in the classroom, they give themselves an opportunity to play basketball at the next level, not just based off of who they're playing AAU with, but because they're playing in big games throughout their high school careers at
No
different points in
doubt.
time of the season.
No doubt. And it's so interesting, man. I speak this all the time because in basketball, you have a lot more leeway to get those big out of conference games. But even in football, you can see when a team has been skating through a cakewalk district and they play a Freedom or a Highland Springs or Oscar Smith and they get boat race because you haven't played anybody with any team speed or athleticism. You've been hiding behind the comfortableness, not a real word, but I'm using it tonight, of your district and your region. And then you look at what y'all did. Okay, yes, the district might be down, but competition is what you create in practice, in scrimmages, and in your scheduling. And there are other coaches like yourself that do it. So I'm glad we touched on that in that segment because I feel like some people just flat out duck rec. They have inflated egos and
Mhm.
schedules, and they hide behind a 15-1 record when you only play one team that you're going to be challenged. And that does show up. Now, with that being said, we talked about transfers. We talked about Tay Barber being your second one, so to speak. But
Mhm.
we'll start with Tay. Tay came in a highly touted recruit. He had a handful, 14 Division I offers. A lot of people knew about him, but they didn't know about him like I felt they should have because unfortunately, his 3 years at Osborne, he put up great numbers, but they weren't playing in front of the people. They weren't being
Mhm.
seen. He
Right.
played in some good tournaments, but Tay Barber was known in DMV, but it wasn't like he was known this year on your schedule. A lot of
Right.
times people feel like, oh, well, you get a talented player. There are a lot of teams in DMV that add transfers that underachieve. Okay.
Correct.
The truth of the matter is, Tay came in and his game went to the next level. He meshed well with the team. There was no resentment because a lot of people would say, hey, man, that's Isaiah Vick and Desmond Hopkins teams and Makai Dillard. And he came in and it was like, it wasn't so much smooth sailing in the beginning, but he came
Right.
in and did his thing. But in your words, as his coach, you had him summer into the fall, into the winter. How was it like coaching Tay Barber? What are you proud of? What did he do well? What did he have to learn?
Well, it's like you said, man. It's you never. He's a super talented player before he even stepped foot on the court for us. Clearly, could score the basketball. Ari has scored, upwards of 1,100 points in 3 years as a player at that point. So it was one of those things, man, that you didn't really know what you were going to get, especially with a guy that's becoming a senior. This one thing I remember Keith Honore saying. He said it's hard to take a kid as a senior, man, because he kind of is who he is at that point, and all his motives are selfish. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
really about the program
yeah,
because he hasn't been in your culture.
yeah,
So I remember that was repeating in my head, but it was kind of different, when I spoke to him and we talked about expectations and things of that nature and how he was going to be. It always was about like us. It wasn't about him and what we had to do for him and what we could do. It was about I'm just trying to help, get us to states, coach. I'm trying to win it. I think we can get there and just listening to him and him really buying into our culture of being a defender. It was I don't think that was something that was really asked of him, before, and it was something that was a non-negotiable for us. It was like, you are going to defend. You're not going to take plays off. You're going to have to play at a high rate on this end if you think you're going to be shooting the ball as much as you think you're going to be shooting it.
Hmm.
So, and that's the only way you're going to be able to get your teammates to understand that you're going to be shooting it as much as you're going to be shooting it. Because if you're not going to guard, they're going to be upset about it. So it
Yeah.
was one of those things that, it was a little bit rough in the beginning because he was trying to find his way. You with good players, they try to fit in with each other, and what ends up happening is that they all become passive. So that was a little bit of an issue for us. I think at times in the summer and in the fall, where it wasn't something that it was like a team thing. It was like, all right, your turn, my turn, your turn, sort of
Mm.
thing, where they
Yeah.
weren't really finding the flow of it together.
Yeah.
So they would have good games as individuals, but we weren't really playing great as a team. And then we got on a stretch there where we won a lot of games in a row in the summer, and obviously had a good live period playing there. And then, then in the fall you get back again, and it's like you're starting all over again because you didn't see them really as much as in July because they're off of their AU teams, and we take off the month of August. So
Yep.
it's just kind of like we had to do it all over again, trying to figure that out. And I had some games in the fall that made me think, I was like, we might not be as good as I think we're going to be. I feel like I say it every year around that time, but they got together. Had a couple tough ones early, but definitely obviously had one of the best, if not the best seasons that we've had at Patriot, and Tay was a big part of that. More than a big part of that. He was driving the bus for a long ride of it. Just with the way he was able to score the ball so efficiently this year, shooting a high percentage. I mean, he's shooting over 60 from two, shooting 40% from
Mm.
three,
Mm.
shooting almost 90 from the line.
Mm. Mm.
And then he was our best on-ball defender. We talk about the chase down blocks and things that he does of that nature. He was a good playmaker, and as far as like finding guys when they found, it just I can't say enough about the things that he was able to do to help us get to where we got. And, unfortunately, it didn't finish the way that we wanted. But, he had a great season. First team All State region, first team All region, you know what I'm saying?
Regional Player of the Year.
Regional player of the year, district player of the year, first team All Met, first Patriot player in the history to do that, which is, an amazing feat in itself for a Virginia public school to have a kid do that, especially the one that didn't win the state championship. So,
Mm-hmm.
just all that. Then obviously the Capital Classic, getting the MVP of that, playing
Mm-hmm.
in the other All-Star game, the lethal shooter stuff. It just I was really happy to see him get that sort of recognition by being able to play in the type of games we spoke about.
No doubt. And I want to circle back on something. I meant to ask you this earlier, but you talked about him being the first time and all the great things Tay did. And God bless him. Tay and his family are great people. But you have never shied away from speaking your mind. And you held Tay accountable, you held Isaiah, and every year you're going to hold your players accountable. But at the same time, because of your outspoken and because you've been able to have so much success, you've created a target for Patriot and yourself. I enjoy it when you get on the other podcasts and you speak the truth. I enjoy it because you're really outspoken and saying what a lot of people are thinking. With that being said, do you feel like that makes it harder on your team and yourself? The fact that you're not going to lie, you're not going to be, because I think a lot of guys are fake. I think a lot of people will say what it needs to be. It must be nice, or they'll say, "Hey, congratulations," and turn around and try to sabotage something you got going on. You and I both know that. We know a lot of people
Right.
that do that. You don't do it. You even gave a shout out to JB, the former Stonewall Unity Reed High School basketball standout, and now coach who was let go.
Mm-hmm.
You made a long post about shouting him out, and you didn't care about anyone taking offense to it. Like, so do you feel like that makes it harder because there's a target?
Nah, we better keep winning. You know what I'm saying? But even then, man, I'm gonna be who I am. I know that some of it might rub people the wrong way, but my heart is always in the right place. And a lot of times it just stems from, either the protection of our guys or the confidence in what I'm watching them do every day.
Hmm.
So when I say things like it's our district until proven otherwise, I'm going to stand by that until somebody shows that it's not. That's not
Hmm.
disrespecting you. I would feel like
Hmm.
it would motivate me if somebody said that. But instead,
Hmm.
people take like he's so this. Like, no, we work. We work for everything that we do. I will say this, and I will stand by it. And I don't care what anybody says. I seriously doubt that there's anybody that outworks us in the off season and puts in the time that we are in that gym and in that weight room and on that track. So I watch them do that. I watch how they compete in open gyms and how they push each other. I'm listening to ninth graders get on each other because they're not finishing off with 2 feet. So
Hmm.
these are the type of things I'm seeing every day with these guys. And then I enjoy the gamesmanship of things and talking a little bit. I don't take it super personal like everybody else seems to. But
Yeah.
it's like, hey, listen, man. I remember when I first got to Patriot, and the newspaper asked me what I thought about the rivalry with the Purple guys. I said there is no rivalry because we never win. you
Mm.
know, I said so. Why wouldn't I say that on the opposite side of it
Yeah.
now when it
Yeah.
comes to some of these other schools that want to be our rival that never beat us? So
Yeah.
it can't. We can't. It's just that I'm not gonna not be that way on the other side of it because I talked the same when we were 11 and 15. I did. The
Hmm.
difference is we weren't winning by 30.
Hmm.
So now all of a sudden it's like I can't believe he's acting this way. No, when we were 11 and 15, man, I love what you're doing. It's a great job. You're really getting these kids to buy in. Now I'm this arrogant jerk who's telling you that I'm going to beat you because you were talking crazy when I didn't think you didn't know it. You know
No
what I'm
doubt.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like it is what it is, man. Compete. Let's jump it up. Let's see who got it. You got it. Shake your hand. It's all gravy. I appreciate
Yeah.
you. That's good
Yeah.
work. But at the same time, don't get all sensitive after you lose.
You're right about being sensitive, man. There are a lot of people being sensitive, but they play games. But um, I want to go back to players. One that I'm obviously very familiar with, my son Isaiah Vick, was with you for 4 years. Came in, uh, could barely dunk, maybe was touching the rim. Next thing you know, he grows over 4 years, 6'7". People don't realize this, man, but I mean, him and Makai, his junior year, ran for class president for the junior class.
Sure did.
Ran for class president, was on the homecoming court his sophomore year or junior year, one of those years, sophomore year. He was also a mascot a couple of times for football games. Went to support the volleyball, baseball, lacrosse, all the other sports, female and male sports. He also was the personality, the heart and soul of your team, Mr. Energy.
Mm-hmm.
Just was all in about Patriot. Um, got recruited by a lot of private schools. People don't know that, but I can speak on that. And
Right.
never wavered. Didn't even work out with some trans because he wanted to only work out either by himself or with Patriot people. He blossomed and became a really great player and bought into everything you and your dad and your staff said. Great defender, great personality. But when you think about Isaiah and what he means to you and what he did this season and just the course of his career, what do you have to say about him?
I mean, listen, man. I'm not. I'm try not to get emotional tonight about it because I got to do it at the banquet all over again tomorrow. But I can't begin to express how much he has meant to our program, not just from him being a great player. That goes without saying. But all the stuff that you mentioned, man. He bleeds Red Nation to his core.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he's all about it for every single sport and every single aspect. He is the poster person for Patriot basketball and what we're about. He works his tail off. He's going to talk a little bit to you while he's doing it, and if you mess around and get at him, he's going to go back to work so he can get you back the next time. So it just and he exudes that every day in everything that he does, and his energy at practice and in games and in the weight room and coming in first in every sprint, during conditioning. We're going to miss that sort of energy. And even like when he came to open gym, when we had the first one, just brings something extra to everything that he does, man. Is and I could go on and on and on about how much he obviously means to our program, but clearly to me, and just like you said, having he's one of those kids that could have easily went to any private school that he wanted to go to because he was that good, but he decided that he was going to take this path that wasn't necessarily the popular one, and I think he's been an example really to a lot of other kids that could have done the same thing. Clearly we had two of them that could have took that sort of path and didn't. And obviously Tay going to Harvard, that's awesome. It worked out for him. Isaiah is going to go prep first, and then next thing you know, we're going to be watching him on TV here in the tournament in the next
I
couple
agree.
of years. So he's showing you, and you talked about all the really good public school kids he's played against. So just to have that and really just buying into what we were selling, he never doubted what we were trying to do as far as it wasn't in his best interest, but also knowing that it was for the team as well. And just the way that he's grown from the time when he was that skinny ninth grader getting abused by a DJ in practice, to the kid now that it just, hey, Isaiah, you bring the ball to court. Isaiah, what do you want to run? Isaiah, do this. Not, I'm yelling at him because he's not dominating the game enough.
Yeah,
Before I just
yeah,
was happy when he dunked it. Now if he doesn't dunk it, I'm mad at him.
yeah.
So it was just really great, and he never took it personal. He always just a really coachable kid. It wouldn't. I don't. It's just like I said, man. I can't say
No,
anything negative about
no. As his dad, and I know I speak for Shanice, his mother, and even his mentor, Aaron. He was in a great situation because he grew at Patriot. He grew and he dealt with some adversity and he grew as a player. I mean, seeing him in the summer league bring the ball up and passing. And I don't think, and this is why we didn't entertain those offers to go to private school, he would not have grown the way he did at Patriot at another school. He
it.
just
Right.
wouldn't have. Real quick before I move on to Desmond, did I coach Tay? Everyone knows that if you're watching, I coached Tay Barber for 5 years, almost 6 years in AAU. So I had him and Isaiah and Ryan in practice. And in practice, Isaiah, and I purposely did it. They were always Isaiah and Tay Barber on different teams. And since they were 7 years old, 6 years old, they've had a rivalry. They used to go at it all the time. How was it at Patriot when they weren't ones, when you didn't go ones versus twos or whatever? I don't know how you do it. I'm not in practice.
Oh
Did they
well,
go
I
at
mean,
it? Did
yeah. Before we once we get kind of deeper in the season, we go the ones versus twos. But before that, they matched up, man, and it was. And that's the culture we kind of have, man. We gonna talk. We gonna get in your chest. We gonna try to get to you. And if I'm getting at you, I'm gonna tell you about it. And if you can't guard me, it's okay. Us as coaches might be on the sideline talking about who is guarding him today, because clearly it's nobody. And we love it because it's like you said, competition is what we're about, and those guys are hyper competitive and obviously have grown up being that way. So it was good to see that out there on the floor at times.
Yeah, it's weird, man, because Isaiah's freshman year, we're not helicopter parents, my wife and I. You don't allow nobody in practice.
Right.
And I remember asking him, so everybody seems real chill, man. Did they talk trash? He was like, what? And he was like, do we talk? He said, bro, it gets intense, man. Going back to when Nasir was a youngin', he said, man, he said, you know how they talk. He said, yo, dad, they be talking crazy and we be talking crazy. So I would love to get in there and see that. And that's kind of what it's about. But speaking of like competition and players, Desmond, the quiet assassin, Desmond Hopkins, your other guy like Isaiah that was there for 4 years on varsity,
Mm-hmm.
um, came in with high expectations because he was known as a scorer. Middle school level, he could get buckets. AAU playmakers, he can get buckets. Desmond's always been a bucket getter, but not the same outspoken person as Isaiah. But he could shoot, and he played his role. This year, he came on and was more of a combo guard, but a point guard. He came on and learned the point guard position, and down the stretch was really big for you. Almost had a triple double either against Oscar Smith or maybe it was Madison. I don't remember which one, but Desmond had a great career for you. And unfortunately, because you've always had so much talent, in the early years, he was second team all district a couple of years in a row, his sophomore and junior year, that did not make it eligible for him to get all region honors. which that's an episode, a topic for another episode. But when you
Right.
think about Desmond, what he means to the program and what he did for you, and your staff, I don't know. Just let everybody know because I have my thoughts on Desmond, all great because him and Isaiah are so close. But Desmond is a unique player.
Listen,
What do you
right,
think?
man. I mean, it's another one that, as you watch these kids grow. I remember Desmond as a freshman, we might have said maybe 10 words to each other the whole season. And that was a COVID year too, so it made it even worse because you don't really get to spend that time with him that you normally would. But he's just a quiet kid, but so talented, and you could see it. And it was something that I was waiting for him to realize it. And the jump he had from his freshman to his sophomore year, he went from being a guy that we thought could do some stuff, but had a couple of injuries, and so really didn't get to contribute in that shortened season. And then his sophomore year just become like, every time you look up, this dude got like 15, and you don't even notice it. And it just and it'd be off the bench and just be really silent. He'd be like, he made three threes, went to the line, got those free throws, boom, 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 and then I'm the leading scorer for the game. And
Yeah.
it was crazy to watch just his development and watching those young guys at that time because they were all sophomores and how they didn't even realize what they were doing was insane.
Mhm.
Because that was the undefeated season. They're just laughing
Mhm.
and they just think it's just normal just to be this nice because that's all they've known. And like
Mhm.
he was a big part of like giving I think those guys that type of confidence because he would just go in there, man, and just go to work. And it was great to watch. And then to watch his growth as a player, and the unfortunate part is that when you're as good as he is, but also as good as a player as he is as far as understanding situations, he's not selfish. So you wouldn't see him taking a bunch of bad shots because he was able to score. And, because of that, it would go unnoticed. And his sophomore year, I thought that he was outstanding for us. His junior year, he would admit that it wasn't exactly what he thought it was going to be, but he still was clearly one of the best guards in the region
Mhm.
because he was the leading scorer on the team that got to the state finals. So,
Mhm.
and you would have some coaches that would say, well, I thought he was better then. It's like, okay, well, now I know why that I'm never going to have to worry about losing to you because you clearly can't evaluate talent. But, and then it's just one of those things that and then you go into his junior year, we ask him to do something that no one's ever asked him to do. We asked him to play point guard for a majority of the game, if not all of it. He does an excellent job running the team. He gets close to a triple double like three times. I'm sending out his film today, and I'm looking at the stats. I'm like, hey, he had like 13, 7, and 6, and
Yep. Yep.
15, 7, and 9. And
Yep.
I'm like, and I didn't even realize it until I go back and I'm looking at the stats now that he was having those type of games. And, he
Mhm.
ups his shooting percentage as a senior, becomes way more efficient shooting the basketball from the floor. So those are the type of improvements you see a kid make, even though his points didn't jump because our team dynamics changed. Isaiah made a huge jump from his junior to his senior year as far as his production. And then you bring in a guy like Tay, who's a 20-point a game guy. So Desmond understood I don't have to be that, but I can be that when I need to be.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to be able to be the leading guy and assist on the team after being the leading scorer for two. So
Yeah.
that was something you saw him do. And then just he, it's so funny, man, because he became almost like a calming influence for me at times.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something that a lot of people don't know. He would come over like, Coach, got it, man. Like, chill. Like, what I'm saying? Like, or like I would say something, he's like, hey, and I'm like, you right, my bad. And so it was so funny because we've developed that relationship of being around each other and being in so many battles with each other that I respect them to say what they have to say, at times, and then sometimes I'm telling them to shut the hell up and just do what I'm telling them to do. But but it's never anything where it's like, I'm this drill sergeant, they just got to follow orders.
No
It's
doubt.
it's it's one of those things that like you're going to grow as a man, and if you're going to grow as a man, you got to be able to say what you feel and then tell me why. Why don't you think this is a good idea? You
Yeah.
know? Give me
Yeah.
something to back it up with. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I remember one time we were in practice and I'm going through, in our breakdown situations, we got to know we have a few different defensive calls. They got to huddle up, make that, get ready to do that. And I'm rattling off and Des was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Too much, too much, too much. And like he wouldn't have did that 2 years ago. He just would have nodded his head at me and pretended like he knew what I was talking about, and then
Hmm.
screwed it up. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then he would go
Yeah.
down making three, and then I would forget that
Yeah.
I was mad at him. So just watching their growth as players, and his was great to see because he became more of a leader, more of an example for the younger guys and things to do. And even outside of basketball, off the court, he was a straight A student for the first time in his life
Wow.
as a student.
Nice.
you
Nice.
know. So his grades were phenomenal this year, and it was good to see him grow in that because high school wasn't always easy for him. So those are things that you want to make sure you highlight with kids. So I can't be more proud of him, man. I'm really fortunate that he was able to play with us and do a lot of things he did. And I mean, he scored 950 points. And a lot of people are going to hear that number and they're like, oh man, he was short of 1,000. We're like, guys, he played with some all-time great players throughout his career at the school. I mean, and for one
Mike
of those seasons,
Ackerman, Nick. Yeah.
right, and for one of those seasons, he did it off the bench. So it's like at 950 basically in 3 years because his freshman year was a wash. So that's if you
Hmm.
really think of it that way, with the players that he played with, and then being in three straight Final Fours and starting two state finals, there's nothing that he has to look back at and have any sort of regret, other than I'm sure they would want to win it.
Yeah. Yeah. Quick question before we move to Makai. Are you ever going to put the state runner-up banners up under the other
We
stuff?
don't
Because you
we
got
we
two. I knew
we
you were gonna
don't
say it.
we don't do that at Patriot High
You
School,
don't do it.
man.
So you won't
I
because
know
I
some
see
other
that other
people might do
places.
that.
I see that and I was like, well, because I mean, look, we wanted to
Hey,
win
listen,
states,
they
but
want to
it's
celebrate things because they don't know if they're ever going to get back. So maybe that's what it is.
all right. Well, Makai Dillard, the Swiss Army knife, he had a he had many games where he took charges, he guarded bigs, and to me took a step forward and became that guy in some games offensively. Two come to mind right away. Forest Park on the road in a big regional showdown. Makai was money, hitting threes, long jumpers, attacking their big. And then on top of it, the home opener against Gainesville, he scored 16 points. And they were doubling Isaiah, and Isaiah was kicking out to him, and Kai was hitting long jumpers and threes. And I've known Kai because him and Isaiah played together for Gainesville. Was it GBA when they were playing travel ball? And
Mm-hmm.
he back then, Isaiah backed him up. And Makai was working the post. He had a mohawk back then. He was reverse
Yeah.
pivot. And I mean, he was an animal offensively. And he came to Patriot. And him and Isaiah battled for that starting job their sophomore year, but he still played a lot, was an integral part every year of what you guys did. Um, just talk about what he meant because he changed his role and became what you and your staff needed him to be, and had some great moments. Those things that we'll talk about him, Ryan Keenan did, those charges, those rebounds, those steals, and getting them out to Desmond and Tay. But that's my perspective. What is your perspective on Makai?
I mean, listen, man, you talk about somebody that did every little thing that we needed to do to win basketball games. And that's the minute he got here, he just made winning basketball plays. Was able to make that one more pass to the open guy. If somebody left him open, he's able to knock down that jump shot. He's going to get that rebound or that loose ball. One thing that is very underrated for him, he's had great hands as far as being able to get steals and deflections. And, a lot of times you get on kids and say, don't reach. Well, some of them are really good at it. So
Mm.
I'm not going to tell somebody
Yeah,
not to do something
yeah.
they're really good at.
Hmm.
Like we talk about great players, and obviously we talking about Kai just for a second, get off topic. Caden Bates was really good at stealing basketball. He had
Yes.
over 100 steals. Can you imagine if I told that kid not to reach? That would be a
Hmm.
crime. So
Hmm.
Makai was kind of like in that same boat that he would rotate, and like if somebody put the ball in a certain place, he'd swipe it, and it was just, and he get our break started that way. You got a guy that can rebound it, push it out, make the pass to the right person, and then you can put him on one of the better offensive players on the other team,
Hmm.
big or small. One it just a lot of different things he can do. He understood what we were trying to do and where people were supposed to be at. He made his foul shots when he got fouled. It just, just watching him and seeing him, and obviously, just like I said, man, those guys you felt like they were babies when they got there, and then they
Yeah.
became these men out there that were just, dictating everything and making sure that all the young guys are doing what they're supposed to do. And it just, we're probably going to miss more the fact that he's been our DJ for the last like 3 years.
Oh yeah, that's
and,
right. With
and
the speak.
practicing and practicing at the game. So we're gonna have to, move that on to somebody else. So, everybody's got to find some way to get their way up there, right? So, but that's, it just speaks to what I said, like those guys being who they are, man, is I can't say enough. And obviously I'm having the previous relationship with him, and Makai's godfather was one of the first people I ever met when I moved to Virginia. We played
Hmm.
East Prince William Sports Club, played with the Chiefs football. He was a fullback
Wow.
team, right? Yeah, and then his father obviously went to Potomac and played basketball there, so I knew him when we were in high school. So it just one of those things, man. That was really cool to see these guys grow the way that they have.
Well, by the way, man, you mentioned Kyle being a DJ. That's one thing I loved also about your program. And it was so crazy because my wife's cousin came to get some video of Isaiah, and he did a highlight tape for Patriot. He does a lot of stuff for big time private schools, and he's really good. And he said, bruh, he said, man, Patriot, it's got to be like 15 freelance media videographer people there. I mean, every time I look, and then you talk about Kai, one thing you guys do a great job, you allow the parents and fans and observers of your program to come inside your program regarding having access and seeing them singing in the locker room when Isaiah was singing New Edition, Can You
Mm-hmm.
Stand the Rain? And then guys dancing in practice, and you got Jonathan getting stuff. And I think that's really good. I think you and Lowe's and Potomac, they did some stuff this year. I think that's cool because we forget that they're young and have personalities. And
Right,
yes, they're still growing up. And the disadvantage they have versus you and I, we were allowed to make mistakes, have fun, create a way about ourselves without this. Where with them, they're growing up right in front of us with
right,
social media. So you get them a good job to allow them to be seen in a way that the average fan may not realize. Like, man, this guy's really a good kid, or he's funny, or he does this, or we actually give back to the community in a church food drive. So I think that's cool. Um,
right. It
yeah,
just
Ryan.
it's
Oh,
good for
go ahead.
people to see that, man. No,
Yeah.
it's good for people to see that. I just because, like you said, you don't really see them as people when they're out there just getting baskets, and
No.
and then
Yeah.
they yelling after they dunk and talking trash. You look at them a certain way, and it's just so funny because, like a kid, we talking about Desmond, and this is we're talking about before. It's a guy that goes and helps out with our unified basketball team with the special ed kids. So he's doing that, and a lot of people don't know he's getting up and going to work with his dad before we got morning practice on Saturdays.
Hmm.
Now Makai's another one. You talked about him and Zay running for junior class president, or being the
Hmm.
mascots, or being involved in different things around the school and the way that they are, and doing the things that they do. It's just Makai's is an honor student.
Honor
You know,
student. Exactly.
right. And so, like, you see the tattoos and walk around with the loud music, you get an idea of who you think they are, but then you get to
Mm.
know them, and you're like, man, these are really good kids. Yeah, I know that. That's why I try to tell
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
it's we want to make sure that they get to see different sides of them, different sides of us. It's more like you said, it's good to see that. I don't want to say that we led the charge, but I think we kind of moved it along a little bit as far as like being more media savvy with the things that we're out here sharing,
Absolutely.
and putting it out there for people to see. And obviously Los and them took it to the next level with their running back series
Running
that
back.
they did.
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
I know that Ant and them did a little thing this year with their documentary that they had throughout the season. We're gonna have something that's gonna be coming out over the last 2 seasons eventually. When it's been finalized. So I like it. I like the fact that these kids are getting that exposure and getting those type of opportunities to show people who they are and the families to get to see kind of the inside of what we're doing. Because like you said, I don't let parents come to practice or open gyms or things of that nature. So they
No,
got to
no.
see some of the stuff other than the product they get to see on the court.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love when you allow us the access. Ryan Keenan, a guy I coached for a handful of years, 4 or 5 years as well in AAU. He joined my team after playing for Coach Hatchett. Ryan Keenan has always been a versatile player, a team first guy, just someone I deeply love and respect his family. He played for you, came on last season in regards to getting that rotation, coming in and giving you key moments. This year, with Isaiah being out for 5 games, nursing an ankle injury, he had a huge play against Hayfield
Hmm.
with the and one basket. But I mean, there were times when you were on other podcasts, you would talk about how Ryan Keenan took 3 charges in one game and would get like 6 boards, 6 steals, 6 rebounds. I mean, and the thing about it is, we don't know this because Ryan is a quiet guy, but he handled adversity better than anybody. He lost his father.
Yep.
He lost his father before the season. A man I know, God rest his soul, Mike Keenan. He lost his dad, which you're very close to your dad. I'm very close to my dad. Your dad coaches with you. That is not easy at
No.
17, 18 years old. And he never complained, never felt sorry for himself. That's my take on it. But once again, Sherm, what's your take on Ryan?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. It's like I told people, I said, there's not. I've come across some of the toughest individuals that I've ever been around as high school basketball players.
Hmm.
Because of some of the things that I've seen just in my time, just being a Patriot. We talked about Ryan. Before we had another kid, Zach Blue, who had a big loss right before the season.
Oh yeah.
Lost his sister, and he went on to be just phenomenal that year. And I can't imagine dealing with that at that age and being able to just come out and just do that. And so, when Mike, when he passed and Ryan, he lost his father, was one of those things that Ryan's not a kid that's very talkative or shows a lot of emotion. You ask, how you doing? You doing okay? And he's like, yeah, it's a little rough. And you get quiet and they kind of trail off. And you just got to let them have those moments and have those feelings and let them know that you're there if they need you. And there were times where I had to get on the rest of the guys because they weren't giving me the right effort. But there was never a day, even before any of that stuff, that kid never gave everything he was supposed to give. And it just his junior year, you watch him he was always where he was supposed to be. And it just was, and we just couldn't keep him off the floor because of it. And then as a senior, clearly he became a key part of what we were doing. And like I said,
Hmm.
just it shows, to his strength as a person to be able to have that sort of mental focus dealing with what he was dealing with. But
Hmm.
outside of even of that, he's a very good basketball player, but he's a very unselfish kid. So it's not important for him to be like the person who scores the most or shoots the most. I'll go guard this guy. I'll go take this charge. I'll make this rebound. I'll get this steal, or I'll rotate here because somebody missed something. As quiet as he is, I remember one day in practice, Carson Cook, one of our very promising young guys. You know, he's trying to learn the Patriot way of not making excuses, being accountable, and working the way you're supposed to work. And Carson likes to tell you the reason why he made a mistake. and, and a lot of times I said, listen, the reason's not important right now. Let's just recognize it and move on from it. So we're in practice, and in practice, I'm a little bit more understanding when I'm talking to those guys on the sideline because they're telling me. And so Ryan sees my face because he's been around long enough. And I said to Carson, I said, we could just say, yes, coach, you're right. And Ryan says, I've been telling him that all year. I don't know why he don't listen. So it just like he became so much more of a leader this year in what he was doing as far as like how he helped us be mentally locked into what we were supposed to be doing. And I just love watching kids as they get older grow into those sorts of things, man, and take it on as their own. And that's one thing that he
Mm,
definitely did as a captain for us this year.
yeah. How about our guy, Abe Halim? Abe had a monster game on the road against Potomac where he had what back-to-back dunks, right? And or was it back-to-back
He
threes and that
had a
one dunk?
dunk and then the
He had a
threes. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but here's a guy that I've known a long time as well. Never coached him, but coached against him in AAU and travel ball. He's always been a bucket. And it's hard for guys like that because he does not lack confidence. Came on the scene his junior year at Hayfield. You had to dig deep into your bench because it was on the road first game of the season and a highly touted game. Nasir and Desmond unfortunately fouled out. Still Los is my guy. I know he's not the ref. Still questionable that it all went down, but it is what it is. They won the game at the buzzer. Um, but Abe came on, and I remember watching the documentary Run It Back, and they were talking about who the hell is this kid Abe? He came in, him and Caden surprised everybody, and then he had his ups and downs, but he still made plays. And then this past year, he embraced his role because it's not easy for a kid like that to come off the bench when he knows if he's at any other school in the Cedar Run and even many in Cardinal, he's starting and then playing the majority of the game. And he was a great he had great moments the year before in the state semi games against Oscar Smith. He had those big threes,
Mhm.
but you really pushed him to embrace playing defense and also knowing that he can impact the game other than offensively. Um, your thoughts on Abe this past season?
Abe, has always been somebody, man, that we knew was very gifted as far as scoring the basketball from when he's on the JV team, being a 20-point a game guy and just a really fiery guy. Probably got like 4 or 5 texts that season, which I was like, if you start doing that on varsity, I swear I'm gonna have to hurt you. But it was, so we just had to kind of corral that emotion. And like you said, he had moments as a junior that he played pretty well. It's difficult, like you said, to be in a situation where you're around a lot of very good players and trying to find your role in that and your consistency in that, because your opportunities might not be the same game to game based off of somebody else might just be playing well that day. And it's nothing wrong that you did.
Yeah, yeah.
So, going into this year, guys get to be seniors. A lot of them think, all right, it's my turn.
Hmm.
And so I knew that Abe was going to have that mindset. So
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
lot of conversations we had to have in the off season about how he could still be who he is in the parameters of what we're trying to do.
hmm,
And I thought that him coming off the bench made the most sense in that, because he would be coming in for one of the starters that was going to be a guy he was going to have to share shots with. So now you take all those shots, but you better defend. So, and that was
yes,
something that he thought wasn't something he had to do all the time as a junior. And so when he bought into that, you find yourself out there longer. I say, I know kids care about starting, and I'm not going to pretend like I wasn't the same way. Of course, you want to be the person that gets introduced to start the game, and everybody sees you go out and do your cool handshake at the end of the line and do all that. I get it. But if you're playing the most and you're playing at the end of the game, get over it. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
yeah,
it's like, so, and you talk about him playing down the stretch of the game of Potomac and making big shots for us. Made big shots in some other playoff games at that point when we
hmm.
needed it. And it
Oscar
just,
Smith.
he really grew, right. He really grew into like embracing that role and realizing he was still going to be able to do him, but at the same time, like it's not just you, it's all of us. And so
Yeah,
he definitely, like I said, I've said it for all of them. Watching the growth they make as men is the best part of it, and it's something that he learned how to do, and he gave himself an opportunity to also be a college basketball player. He just decided that I think I'm just going to go to Mason and be a student, which is awesome, because the biggest thing is that we want to make sure these kids are ready to go off and do the next thing and go to school. And we've been able to do that as well. So,
I actually respect that decision because a lot of times you and I have talked about this off the record, on this show, or different times. Some guys and female athletes are playing sports because that's what their parents want. When they're over it, they're ready to move on into the next chapter. So Kudos to Abe, man, for recognizing it's okay to be who you are and go to college and get a great education, and he'll do that. And the great thing about basketball, unlike football, you could play in the intramural league, you play pickup, and then football you can't do that. But last senior, and then I want to go into the last segment of our show. But Trey Penix,
Mm,
a kid I coached in AAU for a year and a half, um, really, really remarkable athlete, tenacious defender, and always been a hard-nosed defender. Another kid that if he was at a different school in our region, and when I say region, I don't just mean Princeton, I mean Northern Virginia, would play significant minutes and possibly start because he's so aggressive, so athletic. I know sometimes you have, calm him down in practice because, he would get into it with people and lock in and challenge somebody trying to dunk. But I saw you use him in interesting moments, even your junior year, where y'all won the road at Osborne, and it was the night Tay Barber had 1,000 points. He scored and you put him on Tay for a little bit, and you would put him on other guards. And I think that's good that kids in today's world with social media and all the ball is life, social media accounts can embrace, okay, I'm going to play these minutes and lock in. I'm going to defend. I'm going to come in, even if it's 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and give Desmond 2 minutes or 4 minutes. And he did that.
right.
Um, you know, talk about what Trey meant to the Patriot program. I know we're doing this again tomorrow, but this is for the Victory Life Legacy
Oh, it's
Spotlight.
all good. Yeah, I mean, listen, man. I'll say it tonight. I'll say it tomorrow. A kid like Trey really goes underappreciated by a lot of people, but is probably one of the most important type of kids to have in your program.
Mm,
Because it obviously the Isaiahs, the Tays, the Dez's, and Abe and Mackay and Ryan. Those guys played a lot of minutes and got accolades and got articles written about them and talking about what they were this and that and Trey clearly didn't play the minutes that those guys played, but to be a kid that showed up every day, that worked his tail off every day, never had a bad attitude, never gave any sort of inkling that he was going to be unhappy with what his role was. And when his number was called, no matter when it was in the game, he went in there and he played as hard as he could and was always a positive influence for the rest of the other guys throughout the process. You agonize sometimes because you can't find more minutes for guys like that. But I appreciate him more than probably anybody else because he made it not so difficult for me. Not in the fact that he didn't work hard every day and push guys, but he didn't make me feel like I was just treating him bad, and,
mm.
and, and he appreciated being along for the ride of stuff. I'm sure, like as a competitor, he wanted to have more to do with it, but at the same time, what he did for us every day. And listen, the last couple of years in practice, as far as being a guy that made Desmond's life miserable, Tay's life miserable, made Isaiah have to be aware of how he was cutting through the paint because Bruce Leroy was coming through with them elbows and might kick you in the shins or something like that. But he was that guy for us. And it was so when we needed it at times, we had to throw him out there and like the junkyard dog, like, hey, go get him. Get him out of yard. You know what I'm saying? And he'd go do that. And
Yeah.
so it was great to see him do that for us at times and obviously be the kid that he's been for us, man. He's just an awesome kid and program kid, freshman JV varsity. And just, like I said, I can't say enough about kids like that.
So great. That's the benefit of coaching in a day and age when parents are not all, but a lot of them are delusional about how good their sons and daughters are. There's an entitlement now because there's so much exposure, so much money in sports. You got NIL now. You got so many layers to coaching because some days you and Devon and Tehran and your staff, your dad, your mom are parents, are therapists and mediators and referee. You just take on different roles, and to get these guys to buy in, and they're going to graduate in 18 days to go on to life, and you got that new bunch coming in, it's pretty remarkable. It's a blessing. I want to move on to um, the Patriot all-time list, right? This is something
Mm.
that's come up. I tweeted about being a proud dad and looking at my son growing, and I listed a litany of things that Isaiah and his teammates have done in his 4 years, 89 and 13. three-time all-regional champion, 4-0 against Potomac when they used to have the upper hand. They were the team everybody had to go through in Prince William. Now it's
I didn't
Patriot.
even think about that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean 4-0. I keep track of all of that. And I shout out to my guy Anthony. It's nothing against him and those guys. It's just more so Potomac was the standard even when I was in
Absolutely, for
757
sure, for sure.
for over 3 decades. And I'm including Fairfax and any other part of Virginia. And I was listening to all the stuff he did. I wouldn't get into the all-state stuff because it was a new way they did it this year. You and a lot of coaches were really upset about that. But I lifted that, and then our boy Los, our guy Los, I shouldn't call him a boy, but slang. Our guy Los, Carlos Poindexter, head coach of Hayfield, said, "Hmm, Hall of Fame," and that's coming up in about what 4 more years, right? You
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
will be,
They're going to start
yeah.
up the Hall of Fames here sometime in the near future. Yeah,
And it got me thinking. I know we had a quick conversation about it. You have, as the kids say, some dogs.
yeah.
You got Jakai, you got Trey Nelson, you got Nasir, you got Caden Bates, you got Jay Randall, Tay Barber, Desmond, Mike Ackerman, Nick, Courtney Davis. Shout out to Courtney, just committed D2 scholarship, who has become a dog, was a dog for you and getting better. Now he got an offensive bag. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask you to pick an all-time list, but because that's
Thank
not
you,
fair to you.
thank
I'm
you.
not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Not, that's for you and Brad and the coaches that do a handful of years from now. The great
Right.
thing is and I didn't even name, Zach Blue. There's other guys. I apologize.
No, no, no. Listen, man,
There,
this was
there's
it's a
there's
lot.
about seven more guys. I'm just thinking about
Right,
like,
right, right. That's just in the last 4 years. You can go back to, like you said, we told you Icon Luka might be the best athlete to ever come through Patriot. Period. This kid was first team All State in football and basketball. He was
yeah.
District Player of the Year in football and basketball. Like he scored 35 touchdowns and then averaged 18 a game for us his senior year.
Ooh, that's
Drake Marshall, right now, probably could walk into any gym and give anybody a basket.
mm-hmm.
We're talking about a guy that was an all-state guy for us and ended up being a great player at Wilkes University up in Pennsylvania, D3. Jay Vellani's one of the best shooters that we've had. He's just up there being a businessman and making a bunch of money living up in Arlington after graduating from UVA.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lot of guys that were really good for us at different times. And we mentioned Chad Watson that year with Trey Nelson, his senior year. He had averaged
Oh
15
yeah.
points a game that year,
Chad, my fault,
right?
Chad. Yeah.
Right. So we have had some really good players, especially some really good guards for sure. One of them I'm leaving off is one of the all-time greats, and two of them really, and Hagen Van Diver and Devin Parrish from that 2019 team.
Devin Parrish.
And just like so, those guys were our first state team, and kind of like those guys that I looked at to be the first ones to try to go get that trophy. So, and first team to win the region, first team, So it was. We've had some really good guys, man. Some really
Yeah.
good
I'm
guys.
not That's why I said it would be unfair. We would literally have to plan and schedule and get the flow chart out, and because we named some absolute dogs, and I'm sure there's a few more. I mean, that's just something I can't wait to see once that happens. Because one thing I love about all the programs that have been around a long time, you go in the gym and you see, the banners, and you see like what they call it, the Wall of Fame, like what Potomac y'all have. I think that is so dope. Like finally, after my high school's so old and we've had so many great players, I got word that they're finally going to start doing Hall of Fame stuff like that at Hampton High, which is crazy because we've got that same pageantry and tradition of great players.
Right.
Patriot is still, what, 12 years old? You've only been there 8 years, and we named some of the best players that ever played in the Cedar Run district and
Absolutely.
beyond. And it's gonna you and Brad and your dad and all y'all got some tough decisions. The good thing is when it comes to that all-time list, it's always evolving because there's some guys you got coming up, and on top of it, you know, every year when y'all do it, a new class comes in, so
Right.
it won't be that difficult. So I'm gonna end this segment with this. We're gonna do a little wordplay. I didn't prep you for this, but I do this sometimes with some of my guests. I'm gonna give you a word or a phrase, and I just want your response, man. It's something I do. It's fun because it's not scripted, and I didn't prep you for it. So I'm just going to say a word or a phrase. You give me your honest reaction, and I love it because you're honest. Um, First one, VHSL shot clock.
Please, please, God, make us have a shot clock. Hey, I just please. I don't know what else to say, man. It's just whoever listening that is the powers that be. Just can you just please make this happen?
Yeah, yeah. I remember watching y'all against Woodside, but I think that was early in the season, first game for y'all. But that Madison game was, it was like when I used to watch Virginia Tech and other ACC schools play Paul Johnson when he was the head coach at Georgia Tech, and they ran that triple option where
Mm,
each possession lasted 8 to 9 minutes.
right.
And if you got the ball back, you had to score because they held the ball so long. Madison, Isaiah said, in all my life, in all my career games, that was the hardest and longest he had to defend because they at times kept the ball for 4 minutes.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And y'all came back and won by double digits,
Yes, we did.
which is impressive as well because they held that ball and they were a good shooting team. And that was like you, the only game I don't like saying worried about, but I was concerned because, I didn't think they were on y'all level this past season, but I didn't think they were a bad team. And I knew they were going to hold the ball. But seeing it in person, it's hard. So
Right.
shot
It's like
clock.
you
Yeah.
said, it was a good comparison, man. Like you talked about the triple option. You don't
Hmm.
practice against that every day. So it messes with you until you can adjust to it. And if you don't adjust fast enough, the game's over, you lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah. I mean, that would have been really, really shocking to everybody in
right,
Virginia if y'all lost that game.
right.
Um, Speaking of that, my next phrase or word, this is 2 words, um, state championship.
Yeah. Can't make no shots. We're just 2 years in a row, man. We can't make no shots. It'll be great if we can figure out how to make some shots in that building. But listen, man, we blessed to get there. I'm plugging my computer in because instead it was low, and we
Okay.
blessed to get there for 2 years in a row, man. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not grateful for that opportunity. Clearly, we've had some very talented and good teams that have gotten to that point. There's some coaches that have never even sniffed that. So,
Hmm.
I'm very grateful for the chance to get there, but as a competitor, you want it. You don't just want to get there. So we'll
Hmm.
figure it out. Well, it's going to be some random team that nobody expects. That's what I'm thinking. So, but those guys that got back there this year with the expectation of them supposedly to be there, the team that was there before that was ranked, number one, number two throughout the whole year because everybody expected them to get there.
Hmm.
That's very hard to get somewhere when people say you're supposed to. So,
Hmm.
well, but that, like I said, make some shots. Make some shots.
Yeah, no doubt. No, no, I feel you. All right, another word for you. Fatherhood.
It's awesome, man. Being, it's like the coolest thing ever. Like watching these dudes like grow and become, the from the little people, the little humans to the little
Hmm.
grown men, and me having all boys. It's always fun to be able to be that. And I know you being having daughters, I'm sure you're super protective of that. But it's
Yes.
just like you said, man, just being able to help them be able to be better people and learn things and seeing how they go from day to day and trying to mimic you when you're doing something. So it's just an awesome thing.
No doubt. And I love seeing your posts. Devin, Anthony. I mean, every time, I think that's one thing I really appreciate about you. One of the many things I appreciate is that you are all in and you guys never really stop except for a few weeks here and there in the month of August. Even then, you're thinking about what to do, but you do take time to be around your mom and dad and Devin and your sons, and y'all are going to Wizards games and Nats games and the mall and the arcade. And that's good, man. I used to always try to defend Allen Iverson. People were like, why is he on the podium with his kids? I said, that is needed. We need to see that more than the other
Mm-hmm.
stuff because these young kids are seeing somebody taking pride in being a father, especially a black father. I
Right.
love it. I love seeing you do that.
100%, man. And it's like
Yeah.
you said, it just and I've talked to some young guys that are trying to start out and they got some kids or just got a kid or so and they with their mom, if they married or not, and their significant other is making them feel bad about going and coaching. And I said, man, bring your kids to the gym.
Hmm.
Devin was in there in his walker when I was having workouts. Like our managers are great babysitters. You know what I'm saying? And doing that, I appreciate them so much for them taking him into the aux gym and playing with them. His older brothers do a good job of watching him at games and doing that. I love looking back and seeing the videos and the pictures of having them in the background of like game pictures, or seeing them out on the floor or sitting on the bench and coming out there and getting the trophy with us, man. Those are things that I'll never forget. And it's funny now, Devin, 6 years old, Anthony was the one out there getting those first couple trophies when he was about that age.
Yep.
So it's just, and watching them grow, and then the older guys coming back and be like, man, look how big he done got. And then he went from that kid, he said, walk around the walker, to now I got to be dripped out for my flag football game.
He dripped out too. Dripped out.
Oh,
Listen,
and they're like, where's he get it from? And you see his older brother walk around with the same glasses on.
I love it,
So,
man. Yeah.
yeah, man.
How
Yep.
about this one? You ready for this one? Only a few more, and then we're gonna be done, man.
Now, listen, I
Coach.
want to leave out my other two boys, though. I know we talking
Oh
sports,
yeah, go ahead.
but
Go.
Curtis, my oldest son,
Curtis,
he's
yeah.
a great kid. You know what I'm saying? Is a great young man. Obviously doing the same working, living out in Maryland. And Jordan is a phenomenal student at Patriot High School and doing the things he's doing, and voice getting deeper and mustache and beard coming in. So, and he's getting to that point of trying to get that license. So, like I said, I love all my boys for all the things that they can do, and I never want them to think that sports are the reason why I'm going to give them any sort of attention,
Oh,
stuff like
not yeah. Listen, man, no doubt. How about this one though? I only got a few more. Like I said, I'm gonna let you bounce, man. This has been a lot of fun, even though we're close friends. I still love these because I learned so much about you. How about this one? I can't wait to hear your answer with this one. Coaching regrets.
that. Oh man, not calling the timeout in that purple team game in the semifinal. There's
Oh,
a reason why that just came up the first, because we were talking about today, and that one, it was, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to say it's a regret, because I still think it was the right decision. It was the best player in the area with the ball, no timeout, them not being able to set their defense. But
hmm.
it's a hard question, because every time you lose, you're like, man, I should have did that. Maybe I should
Hmm.
have did this. And, you know, only thing I can think of is like in those moments that I feel like I just didn't prepare us the right way in games that we lost. Um,
Hmm.
you know, and that's me being able to learn every day and figuring out better ways to be a better coach. I'm a real big defensive guy, and I've realized that I have to get better and more creative on the offensive end, especially with more talented and gifted offensive players, and being able to figure out ways for them to score. And I feel like each year I've gotten better at that, but I feel like I can get better and better. The defensive side, I'm locked in with that. It's not a
Hmm.
whole lot
Hmm.
that's going to confuse me on that side of it. But
Yeah.
offensively, I'm taking pride in the fact that we've been one of the highest scoring teams in Northern Virginia for the last 4 or 5 years. So, but just being able to get better at that, because the playoffs is such a lockdown, hard to score type of scenario, that you got to be efficient in what you're doing, man. And I thought that we made some more strides from the year before, and then clearly, with the way the last game went, I got to keep on improving myself and our staff.
Yeah, and I know you will. I'll be there. Even though my son's moving on, I'm still gonna be right there getting more interviews and you know, uh, I know it's all gonna work out. And there's a journey, man, to getting to where you want to be, man. It makes it that much sweeter when you get there. And I think that's the benefit if you're locked in as a coach, is learning from your success and your shortcomings. So I was just curious about that answer, that response. So a few more. These are gonna be fun because I follow you on X, aka Twitter.
Yeah.
So here's another one for you. AAU.
Man, it has its, and I feel like it's a gift and a curse all at the same time. It has its necessities. It also has its downfalls. I'm not that coach that's going to be like, we need to get rid of it. It's not any good, because that's ridiculous. It's
Hmm.
an opportunity for kids to be able to get a chance to play in the off season outside of their high school team with different type of teams, and maybe grow in different type of ways. And And a lot of times in that, they're able to get exposure to be able to be seen in front of college coaches if they're good enough. Um, but at the same time, man, it's a lot of negatives too. You have, the type of basketball that is played is more of a pickup, sort of style. You got a lot of people that are giving a lot of people bad advice, or that have agendas that don't want to pretend like they do. Funny story, since you brought AAU up, I got blamed today for kids quitting an AAU team, and I didn't even know about it.
Wow. Really?
Oh man,
They were
we
your
had
they're Patriot players?
the Patriot guys, and they decided that they did not want to play for a certain program's team anymore. And that coach decided that he wanted to call another coach and say that, man, Sherman made his guys quit. And so when that coach asked me about it, I said, man, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. That's I don't even know about it. But it's like I said, it'd be nice if we could all work together in it. And it's the AAU guys feel like we're minimizing what they do. It's not minimizing, but at the same time, when you're running your program for high school, like you have to do things to be successful, in my opinion, year round.
I agree.
And I
I
do I
agree.
do the best I can to go around that. I don't really have stuff when they have practice. I want to make sure they're there. I want to make sure they can travel. But at the same time, I don't expect them to miss team things for AAU practice. Because I know this is going to sound, I'm going to date myself with it, but I'm like, why y'all practicing so much? It's like, what are you doing at these practices that you need to have this many? But it's a lot more competition. I feel like at the top level because they have like a league now, and you have to win so many games to get to that point. I don't know if it was like that back then, but at the same time, there are way too many AAU teams,
Yeah.
and and I
Yeah,
know that everybody wants to play, but everybody's not good enough. And maybe I'm missing what AAU was supposed to be, but I remember it being the most elite of the elite, and you had a couple teams that you could make, and that was it. And now there's
yeah.
like 30 teams that you can make, and I'm watching teams with the elite on their jerseys or premier or select, and
Mm.
I'm like, who selected you?
Yeah.
So it's just hard, man. It's just like you said, there's so many positives to it, but there are negatives too. Now I guess you can see that in everything. But there was Gino or Emmett talking about we play so many games and don't practice as much. But when we're talking about practice, what kind of practice are we having? And AAU practice is really like a lot of just like 5-on-5.
Yeah.
And I know there's some guys that are doing some skill stuff, and that's great. That's not that's not the overall for most of them. That's the probably the elites of the elites doing those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But it's when you got guys that are around these kids year round and know what their games are, and just using your son as an example, people went and watched him play with his AAU team. They had no idea he could do 98% of the stuff he could do.
I know.
And
Yes.
and the problem with that is that I remember when I was a college coach, me personally wanted to talk to the high school coach. I did not want my only interaction with the coach to be with the AAU coach because
Hmm.
I felt like that person didn't know the kid the way that the high school coach does.
Hmm.
He's not worrying about his classes and what he's taking and his grades and how he's behaving
Hmm.
on a day-to-day basis. For the
Yeah.
most part. Now there's going to be some that are going to say, I do. Okay, good for you. You know what I'm saying? But that is not the norm when we're talking about this. So um, I just I wish it would be more of a marriage between the two so we could be more understanding. It would be nice if you could have more head coaches coaching the AAU teams. It would probably, if they shrunk them down, that would be more of a possibility. I know that's something that me and Aunt Mills had talked about before, but it's hard, man, when you're running a program and do that too, and then now you got to travel every weekend, and it's just a lot. So
Yeah, no, it
AAU,
is.
obviously I'm pro AAU, but I'm also going to talk about what the cons are. And when you talk about the cons, people take it super personal, like you're saying that you don't like them or something.
Well, I just think to put a bow on your point, I feel like practice needs to be very productive. I feel like you don't need to play 3 weekends out of the four. If you play 2 weekend tournaments and they're very competitive and meaningful, you're good. I've always, when I coach, I have an AU organization, but as a coach, always wanted to make sure my older kids were ready for high school and my younger kids were ready for middle school. I
Right.
never really was in it trying to, because I knew we were not a shoe circuit team, and it was really about getting them ready for that next level, that next chapter in their career. And I will say this: your boy, your guy, Coach Tim Womack. This is my my son's third season playing on a shoe circuit team. They run plays. Isaiah said they got a bunch of plays. They actually went to the track the other day. They had a day they went to the track and condition, and then they went inside. So he took the team's New World to a college tour to Georgetown and GW. So
So you're right. So there you go.
he's embodying what you're talking about.
Right. But
Yeah.
we're talking about the elite of the elites, the 17U
Mhm.
team for the Adidas circuit team. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
so it's and I know that your organization, you guys are trying to do some of that stuff too, but it's like I remember one day I was talking to an AAU coach. He said, "We're lifting, we're doing this," and I was like, "I don't need you to do that. We're doing that." You know what I'm saying? You might be doing this something that's counterproductive to what we're
I
trying to do.
know. Exactly. Yeah.
So but you can appreciate the guys that are trying to give the kids more than let's just toss the balls out and go play. Like I appreciate
Mhm.
that. But at the same time, don't do it as far as like, well, you need to make sure you had my AAU workout, not your high school workout. Like, come on, bro, your season's over with at the end of July.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Hmm.
that. I gotta get ready to go play a season that lasts all the way through. That we actually get like a big trophy that people are gonna remember about.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things, man. That like I'm saying, like if there could be more of an understanding between the two, and everybody's not trying to say, well, you can't do this. Like I said, I tell kids you can make whatever decision you want. But like I said, we got stuff we got to get done too. And if I'm doing the best I can to work around your schedule, you should do the best you can to make sure that you're here.
No doubt, man. Next one, and this will be funny. Actually, it's my last one. Uh, who is your basketball GOAT? Who's the GOAT? Who's the
Yeah,
GOAT?
I thought we were going to get out here in a timely fashion today. Listen, man. Listen, there's one answer and one answer only. And I know these young guys ain't gonna like it, and some of you old dudes that don't like it. I don't know what planet you were on during the 1984 to 1998, but there's only one answer. It's Michael Jeffrey Jordan,
No doubt.
and it is without a doubt the answer, and it will stay the answer until proven otherwise. And they can talk all they want about LeBron's numbers and the things that he's done. And listen, man, the dude is great. And that's the part that I feel like people get lost in when they want to argue it. Like, I'm not saying your favorite player isn't a great player. I'm just saying he's not this guy. And it's not just 6-0 in the finals. It's not playing a 7 game in the finals. Not that. This man came into the league and like he was the best player immediately. Now
Immediately.
LeBron came in and was a very good player, and he got to be close to the best player very quickly in like the next couple. But it wasn't any argument other than people that couldn't let themselves, who were Lakers fans or that were Celtics fans or Pistons fans, let go. It was like, man, we watching something that is like from another planet. It's almost like how
Mhm.
you kind of feel, and my young boy's been trying to tell me. I ain't want to hear it because my love of Jordan. Like when you watching Ant Edwards right now. You know what I'm saying? It's
He
like
is
you feel like
special.
you watching something that's like, man, we might not seen this. You know what I'm saying?
Yo,
So it
yeah,
just and like I
yeah.
said, LeBron had that same thing when he came in. Clearly, he's a great player, and a lot of people don't like it, but I don't even have him second. I got Kobe second.
You said
So
that, yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know how you can take somebody that averaged 36 and that was also guarding you like his life depended on it. You know what I'm saying? On a team that was only winning 40 some odd games. Where for another guy that has all these physical gifts, everyone you could want, right? and just decides at times he's just not going to guard anybody. It is
Hmm.
insane to me that they just
Hmm.
ignore that when we talk about it. It's like he spent 4 years in Miami being the best defender in basketball, and then outside of that, he's like, I just
Yep.
want to point the finger when somebody else doesn't rotate.
Yeah,
Like you see
yeah,
that temper tantrum he threw the other night trying to get them to challenge that play.
yeah. It's different. It's weird.
And that's like I said, that's different
Yeah,
stuff, man. But like I said, he's great, great player, has done some phenomenal things, some things we've never seen before. Clearly, the NBA's all-time leading scorer. His longevity can never be questioned. His greatness can never be questioned. He's clearly one of the top three to five, and the 1 through 5. You can rate him however you want. He's clearly in the argument for it. I just don't see how you can make an argument against Jordan and the stuff that he did, when he did it, how he did it, and the fact that he just kept doing it and he stopped so many people, is regardless of how they want to talk about the competition that he played. He stopped so many great players from ever getting a sniff at a championship because they just knew. You hear Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett talk about it. They said they felt like that man had a glow when he was on the floor. These are all-time great Hall of Famers that are saying this about, and that's not saying that other guys might not look at LeBron that way, because he's like, it's the same thing. He's a megastar.
yeah,
But
yeah,
these dudes act like Jordan was like the boogeyman.
yeah.
If you just set him off the wrong way, he might just go for 40 just cuz.
No doubt.
And
No,
it's just
yeah,
like, and he just was a killer. And
killer.
I always resonate with guys like that, like Kobe, Mike. Like, they try and just take your heart out. That's why it's great watching Ant and where he going at dudes. And he
Yeah,
is it's just, you feel like it's like, man, I'm not about all that like super friendly stuff that makes people feel comfortable, which is a lot of reason why people look at us, they look at us, because we're trying to take your heart out. And then we're gonna laugh
yeah,
about it after the fact because it's
yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah,
Like, we're
yeah,
having a
yeah,
good
yeah,
time.
yeah. I think that's the thing, man. When you have an edge and you play with edge, you got to be comfortable with not being liked.
Right.
I always tell people, man, when you're really good and you become great at your craft, you have to be comfortable with people hating, giving you those passive aggressive comments, or must be nice, stuff like that, where they're throwing
Mm-hmm.
shade at you, but in a complimentary way, man. And I love the fact that Ant's coming in the league with some of the best young talent this NBA's ever seen. And he's like, I'm not trying to be your friend. I'm trying to kill you. I'm trying to go
Right.
at you. That's
Right.
refreshing
It is.
because it's that's competition is the reason why we watch, especially when it's competition at the highest level.
But like,
Um,
it's what's great about it is that he's that way, but he's still like, you still feel like, all right, I still respect these old dudes.
yes,
Right. But I like,
yes.
it's not like I gotta disrespect them. But at the same time, my respect only goes but so far, as when we playing. Like, when we playing, I'm gonna let you know I'm going at you. But
Hmm.
after the game, man, listen, that's my, like, how that, watching him and Durant like interact during that, man, and you could see it. It was like, man, Durant, like, this dude won. Like, he can go. But at the same time, man, like, this my idol. But I'm gonna kill him. You know what I'm saying? It's that
No, I
type of
mean
thing.
you posted that on your Facebook page, which I was thankful for when you showed Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese hugging.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
because there's no beef. Like y'all trying to make it more than what it is. That's just competition. We got to get back to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we
For
got to get
sure.
back to that. Now, this has been a lot of fun. Oh, real quick, I got it in my notes here. Uh, you did you did anybody go to prom? Anybody no issues with prom this year?
Listen, man, I ain't had nothing to say about prom, man. People take that
Boy,
drink serious,
man,
boy.
you
You
look for
talk
those
about, I was like,
watching.
man, of all the things I've said, of all the things
Yeah,
I have done, this is what y'all got mad about?
listen. I know that, but look, for those watching, if your first time checking this out, go to Sherman Rivers' Twitter account and do search under his name and type in prom and look at the mentions. It was trending all the way to the ACC network. You guys were playing on TV. They brought it up. You had coaches on the West Coast, college coaches. It became actually, I'm mad because that would have been great to have on a podcast and then get out there. But either way, man, never shy of words, but never shy on helping your players, your families, your community, man. People don't realize you're an educator. You do a lot of great things for a lot of families, man. on behalf of Victory Life, the Vic family, we thank you. I'm gonna keep thanking you for all you've done and all you've yet to do for the future players. So this was a lot of fun, man. I know we went real long, but I wanted to really cover it in detail. So Sherman, I appreciate you. For those watching, make sure you support high school basketball in Virginia, especially the kids up here in Northern Virginia, Cedar Run District players, Patriot, Red Nation, continue to be you. I'll be there with my red on next season. Looking forward to it. To my Victory Life piece, make sure you continue to support the Victory Life movement. Like I say every episode, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, make sure you have a great impact and leave a phenomenal legacy. Thank you so much, Sherm. I appreciate you. I salute you and the
Oh
Rivers
man,
family. Thank you.
you already know.